Hi, friends. I am embarking upon learning about DMSO for treating an injury that I had during the winter storm. I fell on my left side, and it was a full fall. It was not on anything hard because the leaves that caused me to slip were also thick enough that they cushioned the fall. Um, but still a lot of, pressure because falling. So, I have been on DMSO not quite since the first day. If I had it to do over again, I would do it immediately upon getting hurt. I would ice that and put DMSO on it immediately. So I know to do that now, but I believe I started the day after. I had DMSO in the house, but hadn't used it previously, and I understood that it's good for structural things. And since I don't have a lot of structural things going on relative to my other issues, I had not prioritized learning about it or using it. Um, so I obviously had to once I fell, because that was the only option. And so I put that on. What I have found as a chronically ill person is that putting it on just the injury site, even if you go a good bit around the injury site, is just not enough. I needed much more support than that in my body, in order for it to start healing. So what I found after a day or two of doing it that way, um, is that you want to do a couple of things. If you're chronically ill, if you want to take these recommendations, you don't have to, obviously. You can do whatever you want to do. But DMSO is also something that likes to play with water. And if you have a tendon issue or something that's not either fatty or fleshy tissue, like thicker tissue in the body, it's not going to have that water to kind of pull from tendons and so forth. So what I did was soak that area. Took a warm, not hot bath. You don't want to inflame it further with a hot bath, but you do want it to be warm enough to where you're not freezing. And I also used Epsom salt in that bath regimen, because of its help with muscle repair. So once I had done that, then I did the DMSO. It takes very, 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 very little. You'll see different recommendations for how to take it internally and so forth. People take up to a tablespoon a day. I can't even imagine doing that because on a wet post bath body, I've done that about 5 times now, and this is a teeny tiny bottle, and this is how much I've used. From here to here fully. And I know that it's been working because my skin has gotten dry. My lips have gotten dry. Those are indicators of some type of parasitic die-off, of pathogenic die-off. I know that from other experiences. Some days it's been pretty severe. The first couple of days, my skin sort of smelled like dirt. It did not have the smell that if you've looked into DMSO previously, you may have heard of like a garlic smell or a sulfur smell that you get. That's really that's the kind of like strong smell you get anytime you change diets radically and the body is switching kind of operating systems and getting rid of old yucky stuff. Because I've already done a lot of that, I didn't have any of that smell at all. I had like a very, very minor, like 10 seconds worth of like garlic down the street kind of very vague smell on my third time putting it on. And that was it. I haven't had that smell at all other than that, despite having it on my whole body. The other reason I did it on my whole body was because the liver is large. It covers a lot of territory on the body, on the chest, on the right side, and then around the back. But also in that area of the chest, you've got other like important organs, right? So you've got a spleen happening and you've got other stuff going on. You've got lungs that you want to support. So especially if you might have a detox response, a Herxheimer reaction, which is to say, like some kind of pathogenic die-off, which chances are good you will if you have chronic illnesses. It's been documented that fibromyalgia patients have that kind of Herx effect when they use DMSO at first. which makes sense because in other schools of thought that are more parasite um, versed rather than just neurologic or rheumatological versed, the kind of general wisdom is that fibromyalgia exists because of candida overgrowth, and where the candida has found so many places to be in the body, it sort of burrows in the joints, and that's why it like hurts. That has been consistent with my experience when I'm killing off candida. It sort of runs to the joints first. Once you can get it out of the joints, then the pain is much less. So, whether you subscribe to that school of thought or not, that's just sort of FYI, for your consideration. Um, so I did put the DMSO on, but what I found, a lot of people use DMSO and MMS or CDS together. I'm not really sure why that is because people in the MMS world are very religious almost about not using any antioxidants. You don't eat antioxidant rich foods. You don't have anything antioxidant when you're doing MMS because it's an oxidant. It oxidizes the pathogens. They can't live in an oxygenated environment, and so they're like, oh no, and so then they get deconstructed, and then they become neutralized in the body, and then they leave the body. Um, the So I have wondered why people are using DMSO with MMS or talking about it in the same conversation. And it's even that way in the books. But it's clear in the books that the people writing the books are not actually using DMSO. They're just kind of passing along sort of folk knowledge on that. So, what I would say about my experience trying to use them both together, and the reason I did that was because I started getting a lot of congestion. And so I thought, oh, I need to get back on my MMS, was that did not help. I became very nauseated for a very extended period of time. It was too much on my body to try to do both at the same time. And then it occurred to me also that putting DMSO on the whole body would be a pretty strong detox process. It wasn't that way for the first 2 days, and so I didn't initially think about it. I thought my body's handling it pretty well. But by the third day, it really was that strong detox process. So I'm getting kind of the cold that you would kind of expect to get when you are detoxing. It's not super fun or anything. What I'm doing today, now that my shoulder is kind of stabilized and feels like it can go a little longer without the DMSO, is I'm doing the MMS first. But I will say the MMS that I'm taking smells very strong to me, and it's not very strong, but I can tell from my nose and how I react to the smell that I'm needing a very low dosage at this point. That's all my body can handle right now. So I'm doing that about every hour. I'm not being quite as specific with it as I maybe should be, but about every hour. And then once I do that for a solid 8 to 10 hours today, then I'll take a bath and do the DMSO again. I may just do it kind of on here and my lower back and maybe or maybe not my liver. I'm also having some discomfort kind of around here, which is another place where kind of pathogens burrow when they're trying to find a place to be. So I may kind of rub it on there too. So that's just a little more information, especially for chronically ill people about kind of mixing these things. Um, and you can obviously do what you want with that information. You do whatever feels right to your body or that your health provider that you're partnering with, suggests, and go from there. But there's not a lot of real thorough information that I find on DMSO beyond, I mean, once you watch a few videos, everybody kind of says the same thing. So, um, the books are not, um, they're not necessarily geared toward chronically ill people, despite, the fact that people don't come to DMSO just because, they come to it when they have sort of tried everything else. So, but I hope it's helpful. I do still feel like the DMSO is very helpful. I am being able to move my shoulder at this stage at in a full range of motion. I'm not doing any exercises on it right now. I'm just making sure a few times a day that it still has that range of motion. I usually try to do some little weights with it. Um, but I'm not going to do that until this is completely stabilized and I have no sensations and no symptoms and that kind of thing. It is a struggle to not be able to do MMS every day right now because I am really stuffed up. But I can still breathe through my nose, which is great. But my drainage is it's pretty dark, and so I know that there's something is not correct. So anyway, I hope that's helpful getting to know DMSO a little bit more. All right, over now.